Peugeot has a long history of building some of the best small cars in the world, and it's pulled all its expertise into this, its latest Super Mini, the new 208.
It's a really smart looking thing with a certain je ne sais quoi that you expect from a flamboyant French manufacturer. In fact, by comparison, some other Super Minis look a little bit dull. It's the same story inside, with an interior design which helps the car stand out from the Super Mini crowd, thanks to tempting flashes of glossy trim.
The new 208 is actually slightly smaller on the outside than the old 207, yet somehow Peugeot actually made it bigger here on the inside. For instance, on the old car, knee room was really tight, but here I am in the new one, and it's fine. Headroom's good as well. Even though I've got my hair sticking up, there's still plenty of room, and adults will be fine in the back of this car, no problem at all. You even get some useful side door bins, which can hold large bottles. Then there's the boot. Now that's bigger than before too, and it's a really generous size for a Super Mini. Now I know that when you fold the seats down, you do get a bit of a ridge, but it's not as bad as on some of this car's rivals. And this little ledge here does help you to slide things up to carry larger items. There's plenty of room here in the front of the 208 as well. It doesn't really matter whether you're big or small because there's so much adjustment in the driver's seat and the steering wheel that pretty much everyone will be able to get comfortable. As for equipment, it's pretty much par for the course for a Super Mini really. The model you want, the sweet spot in the range is the Active, because it gets things like air conditioning, alloy wheels and Bluetooth for your mobile phone. It also gets this rather handy touchscreen, which is a bit like an iPad. Word of warning though, that system does not include a CD player. You have to play all your music through the USB input. But let's face facts, the CD as a format, it's dead, isn't it? Peugeot have accepted it, so maybe it's about time we did too. Peugeot makes some cracking small engines, and the ones in the 208 are no exception. You can get a diesel, which will do 83 miles per gallon, but I wouldn't have that. I'd have the engine in this car. It's a brand new 1.2 litre petrol 3-cylinder, and it'll return 63 miles per gallon, which is blooming amazing for a petrol. And the best bit is that, unlike other 3-cylinder engines, which I'm not that keen on because they make this kind of loud thrummy noise, almost like the exhaust is blowing, this one is actually pretty quiet. It's also very nippy and far quicker than the car's 0-60 time of 14 seconds suggests. The 208 is dead easy to drive in town because all the controls are nice and light, but what happens when you get out onto a faster road? Well, if the faster road's a motorway, it's great there too, especially for a Super Mini. It's comfortable, it's quiet. I mean, all you get is a bit of wind noise from the A-pillars, but it's not really that bad at all. And the seats, well, you can go for miles and miles in them without getting backache. Where the car gets into a bit of trouble is if the road is like this one here, if it's twisty and quite turny and tight, because, well, the car doesn't really give you that much confidence for throwing it at bends. And one of the reasons for that is that the steering, it's just a little bit vague really. Now, passengers might be pleased to hear that this isn't the kind of car which encourages its driver to chuck it about. However, if you're the kind of person who thinks that a Super Mini should also be fun, I have two words for you: Ford Fiesta. As for the downsides, well, there are a few, and I've noticed that these front and the rear pillars are quite wide and they create a bit of a blind spot. Also, while the cabin looks pretty posh, when you actually touch the materials, it doesn't really feel any more upmarket than in a Kia Rio, and the cabin itself isn't as well thought out as in something like a Volkswagen Polo. For instance, the way the instruments are located, if you have your steering wheel high and your seat quite low, the wheel rim actually blocks your speedometer, which is just insane. I mean, you can almost imagine the conversation they had when they signed off this car. It would have been like, "Oh mon Dieu, you cannot see the tires because of the wheel. Oh, don't worry, Jean-Luc, we will just squash the wheel and voila, no one will know." You know, that would never happen like that in a German company. And what wouldn't happen either is a glove box, which is so small you can't even fit the car's manual in it. Now, the reason for that is that they've actually put the fuse box over there, and generally when they convert a car from left to right hand drive, they'll also move the fuse box across so you don't have that problem, so you have a normal sized glove box. But Peugeot, well, they just haven't bothered with that. And so on behalf of all British drivers, Peugeot, I'd like to say, yeah, thanks guys, we really appreciate that. If I shouldn't moan too much, at least they've given the car some large side door bins so it does pass the CarBuyer big bottle test. Good. And that just about sums up the 208. You see, while it's by no means perfect, it's still a very good looking car that's comfortable to drive and very cheap to run, which makes it a very tempting super mini. It also undercuts most of its competition on price.
Subscribe to the CarBuyer channel for our latest videos. Click here to see our reviews of other super minis. And don't forget to rate, share, favourite and comment on this video.